continue to roll on too.
Yeah, well, I just figure it's easier with
Okay,
chapters.
that's fine.
So you just told us what good and bad infill is. What do you, if there were a developer, say Joe Weiss were interested in doing a, quote unquote good infill development, how would you like to see him work with the neighbors to, accomplish good infill?
I think the first step of working well with the neighbors is to attempt to work with the neighbors, and that's not necessarily always happening. But I think Joe Weiss has done a number of projects in this town that are very good. I do pick on him because I did not agree with the process for this one development. I don't consider myself to be anti-development. I consider myself to be anti-bad development. And a couple of suggestions that I would have in particular is what we need to do is we need to have a memorandum of understanding ahead of time with the neighborhood associations as they exist. Neighborhood associations, there's some people that feel that they are entirely of a not in my backyard mentality, and that is absolutely not the case in with almost every neighborhood association in town. What we have to do is clearly state up front what the neighborhood association expects, and that does a lot of things for us. It'll speed up the process of actually getting these infill developments approved. I mean, simple things like having the new structure match the character of the neighborhood, having the scope meet the character of the neighborhood. And it can be simple things too, with just the facade on the first few levels matching the character of the neighborhood, but then perhaps you have elevated structures off the street. Other cities have done this. Perhaps it's integrating historic structures into a development instead of bulldozing them down and losing some of our historic landmarks. I think it's this upfront understanding that needs to be put in place, and there's currently no process for this at all in the city. And then as a developer approaches a project like this, they understand what the guidelines and what the expectations are going to be. And it's good for the developer too, because one of two things is going to happen. We'll either continue to have a city council that's just going to bend over to every whim of every developer, and that's a possibility. The voters have a choice on September 9th. They can go down that path. I don't think the voters are going to choose that. But the other possibility is that we have these arrangements up front, and we can expedite the process for doing these developments, and that's going to take a lot of risk out of developers stepping into these roles as well. So I think once we have a reasonable city council in place, which I don't necessarily believe that we do right now, this type of pre-planning can do a lot to make these projects run much smoother.